While we're just trying to survive the toddler years or the middle school years or whatever stage your kids are in, God is pointing out something He already sees in us long before we ever start actually living it out. Do you want to be an amazing present mom and have a real identity of your own, but you struggle with mom guilt and complete overwhelm when you even think about trying to do something just for you? If so, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Laura, a former teacher and university career counselor turned stay-at-home homeschooling mom of two. Over the years, I've learned a thing or two about how to be the present, engaged mom I've always wanted to be and rediscover my own personal identity at the same time. So, if you're ready to rebuild your identity, rediscover your confidence, and let go of the mom guilt, then get the kiddos settled and grab an earbud because this podcast is for you. Real quick, before we dive into this week's episode, I want to invite you to book a clarity call with me. If you're feeling stuck, unsure what God is inviting you to next, or if you simply just miss having a sense of direction, this call is for you. We're going to spend an hour together just talking through your story, your strengths, what God's been stirring in your heart, and where you are right now. Then we'll identify one clear, practical next step that you can take with confidence. So you don't have to have your whole future figured out. You don't need a big polished plan. You just have to show up. So if this sounds exactly like what you need, you can book your clarity call at scatteredwoman.com/clarity. I have had the story of Gideon come up in conversations, in sermons, or in something I'm reading, I kid you not, no less than 5 times in the past couple of weeks. And when it came up again in a recent sermon at our church, I finally just sat down and did a deep dive into Gideon's story. And what I found relates to your Mosaic mom life so well. I couldn't wait to share it with you. Let's dive in. Let's start with some context. In Judges chapter 6, the Midianites are terrorizing the people of Israel. The Israelites plant their crops, the Midians swarm in like locusts to destroy it. They kill off all the Israelites' livestock, and the Israelites go running scared. Verse 2 tells us that the Israelites are holed up in mountain clefts, caves, and strongholds. These people are terrified, and rightfully so. They are hiding. They are hoarding anything they can out of sight of the Midianites. So when we encounter Gideon in verse 11, he's hiding. He is threshing wheat in a wine press. That is not where you thresh wheat, but it was a hidden place where nobody would have expected somebody to be dealing with food when everything had been destroyed, supposedly. Now, don't we just do the same thing? Many of us stay-at-home moms are hiding too. Life is hard. Most of the time, we are just trying to survive, just like Gideon. We probably did not leave the corporate world to stay home with our kids to purposely hide. Of course not. But life as a stay-at-home mom is just hard. And most of the time we feel like we're just trying to survive day to day, paycheck to paycheck. I mean, thank goodness that we don't have to live in a place or a time where some marauding army is likely to swoop in and carry off the entire contents of our pantries and fridges. I mean, grocery shopping and meal planning are hard enough without outside forces to contend with. So most of us are not intentionally hiding. We're just trying to thresh our wheat in peace, feed our families, keep our families alive, and live to fight another day. But we are hiding, just like Gideon, nonetheless. And here's what I thought was really interesting about Gideon hiding. Nobody expected a mighty warrior, that God calls him later, to be in a wine press. I read one commentary that said that the Midianites wouldn't have even thought to look for someone in that wine press because all the grapes were gone. They had already decimated the entire crop. All the crops had been destroyed. It's a miracle that Gideon had any wheat to thresh at all. So somebody covertly harvesting and hiding food in a place that shouldn't be holding any food at all would probably never have occurred to these invaders. So Gideon probably felt pretty safe in that little sunken pit, just doing what he had to do to survive. And I think it's interesting because the world that we live in doesn't expect to find mighty warriors as stay at home moms either. Why would someone with God given gifts, talents, or skills be at home raising their kids instead of sharing those gifts with the world? That's what the world is thinking. But we, as the stay at home moms, we see the value of sharing our gifts and our talents with our families first in this season. But the world by and large does not expect to find much of value from someone who gave up corporate work. So just like Gideon, we high achieving stay at home moms can be overlooked just because we aren't where the world would expect us to be. But then the angel of the Lord, which many of these commentaries agree is a pre incarnate Jesus, a Christophany, if you will, he shows up on the scene, and in verse 12, he calls Gideon a mighty warrior. Now, Gideon, he is not acting like a mighty warrior. He's hiding. He's found a place where no one would think to look for him. He's doing what he has to do to survive, and he's hiding. Honestly, at this point in the story, Gideon is acting like a wimpy, whiny, scaredy cat. And repeatedly, he questions God. He's complaining that he's the least impressive person in his already puny little clan. The big guys have won. I'm powerless. Woe is me. I mean, you can just hear him whining through this and saying, you can't possibly be calling me a mighty warrior. He's certainly not coming across as a mighty warrior. But honestly, we don't feel like the titles God gives us are true very often either. When God gives us a new name or calls us by a new title, he is probably calling us to something we aren't living out yet. Just like Gideon. I talked about this a little bit in episode 18 when we talked about the names that God gives us and how they don't feel true when we first receive them. While we're just trying to survive the toddler years or the middle school years or whatever stage your kids are in, God is pointing out something he already sees in us long before we ever start actually living it out. So pause for just a second. What name or title is God calling you right now? Does it feel like something you would actually say about yourself? Or is he calling you to something beyond what you feel capable of in your present situation? I mean, Gideon is out there threshing his wheat where no one would go looking for him, minding his own business, and God shows up and tells him in verse 14 to go out and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Gideon did not see himself as the savior of his people. You probably don't see yourself as whatever God is calling you to either. You probably feel small, the unlikeliest of heroes, and maybe you feel like the worries of this life are just too big for you to conquer on your own. And you might not see it right now. But God is always calling us to be and do more than we think we're capable of doing. So Gideon does what most of us would do when faced with something that doesn't feel true. He fights it. He fights this new title, this new calling. The angel shows up and says, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." And the first thing out of Gideon's mouth is, "But, sir," think about this. How many of your prayers start with, "But God, dot, dot, dot. But God, I'm not ready. But God, this is a horrible time to do this. But God, my kids are still really young. But God, I wish it were some other way." How many of your prayers start like that? So Gideon starts with, "But sir, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are his wonders? The Lord has abandoned us." Now, doesn't that sound exactly like what we say when life is hard and not going our way? I mean, one of the biggest questions people the world over have when it comes to believing in a good God is exactly what Gideon asks. If God is with us, then why are bad things happening to us? If God is with me, then why are my kids out of control? If God is with me, why is my marriage falling apart? If God is with me, why is my mom sick? And just like Gideon, we're still asking, why doesn't God show up with big miracles anymore? If God would just show up and do this huge, crazy, impossible thing, then I'd believe him. And we are certainly tempted to believe that he has abandoned us when life gets hard, when our husbands lose their jobs, when our kids get sick, when no doctors have answers. It is so easy to feel abandoned and just go thresh our wheat in some hidden pit and do what we have to do to help ourselves because no one else is going to help us. So we are very much like Gideon in this moment. Then, not only is Gideon not real sure that God actually cares about his people anymore, Gideon wants proof that what this angel is saying is true. So here's how this conversation goes down in the Laura paraphrase of verses 14 through 17. God shows up and says, "Go save Israel." Gideon shoots back, "How can I possibly do that? I'm nothing." God says, "I will be with you." Gideon says, "Yeah, but give me a sign that it's really you talking to me." Can't you just see God's eyebrow quirking, giving Gideon this look like, "Are you serious right now?" But when God tells us to go do something different, to get out of our comfort zone and follow him, don't we want proof too? We say, "Okay, just show me what to do, God." And he does. And we come back with, "Okay, but is that really what you wanted me to do? Show me that this is the right thing." And he confirms it again. And we come back with, "But is it really the right time? Like, just give me a sign that this is the right time." I'm pretty sure God quirks his eyebrow at me on the regular. We want to make sure that we're hearing God right, which is totally fair. But sometimes I think we're just arguing with him, questioning if what he's telling us to do is actually his best for us. Because it's certainly not what we would have thought we would be asked to do at this point in our lives. But here's the awesome thing. God gives Gideon the signs he asks for multiple times. In verse 21, the angel of the Lord touches the lunch Gideon brings out, makes it burst into flame, and then disappears. Later in the chapter, in verse 34, the Spirit of God comes on Gideon. He blows a trumpet and rallies the troops. And immediately after that, he's right back there asking for another sign. He's saying, "Let this fleece be soaked and all the ground be dry tomorrow morning. That'll show me that this is what you want me to do." So God does it. Gideon wakes up, sees the fleece, and is like, "Well, that could just be a coincidence. Maybe somebody just came over and dumped water on the fleece just to mess with me. No, 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 God, I just need to be sure. So now make the fleece dry and make the ground soaked." And God does it. No matter what Gideon asks for as a test that this is truly what God wants him to do, God does it. He meets Gideon where he is. He gives him the proof he feels like he needs to get moving, And here's the important part, without reprimanding him. He doesn't come back and say, "Who are you to question me?" Not at all. He just gives Gideon what he needs. He's willing to meet us, just like Gideon, exactly where we are, and confirm his plans for us over and over again if needed. He's not going to freak out and strike you down for needing clarification or confirmation. All Gideon had to do was ask. And we can ask too. Now, no, we should not test God. But I think there's a difference between testing and asking for confirmation. Testing, in my mind, is questioning God's authority. Who are you to be telling me what to do? I know better. Asking for confirmation shows that our intent is to follow, is to do what he's asking us to do. We just want to make sure we're hearing the instructions correctly. So when we ask for clarification, we're asking for confirmation. We just have to make sure we're asking with that right heart posture of saying, yes, I will do what you're asking me to do. I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. I really want to make sure that this is what you're asking me to do right now, in this time, in this moment, in this way. So here's the big takeaway from this whole deep dive into Gideon. When God shows up with a brand new name for us, it's pointing to a future purpose and calling. It's not going to reflect our current reality. Often we're hiding, just like Gideon. We're at home with our kiddos. We're trying our best to just keep it all together and do what we have to do to survive. But God sees more in us, more potential in us than we do. So when God calls out something new or scary in you, don't be afraid to ask for confirmation. I truly believe that when we are willing to do what he's telling us to do, no matter what it is, but we just want to make sure that we're hearing him correctly, God will meet us where we are. He'll bless that little bit of faith and confirm his plans for us over and over again. So, here's your homework. The next time you have a few quiet minutes, maybe while you're washing dishes after everyone else has gone to bed, or if you somehow manage to wake up before the rest of the house, or maybe even when you're just in the shower, and that's the only time you get all to yourself all day, ask God one simple question. Ask, what are you calling me to do in this next season? We're going into a new season of school and going into all of the fall stuff. And then very soon we're going to be going into holidays. We're going into a whole new season right now. So what are you calling me to in this next season? Don't worry about 5 years from now. Don't worry about the whole big plan. Just ask him about your next step. Maybe he's nudging you toward a different approach in your parenting. Or maybe he's stirring a desire to volunteer somewhere. Maybe he's preparing you to ease back into this whole working thing and do it from home. Or maybe he's simply asking you to trust him in an area you've been avoiding for a while. Whatever it is, don't be surprised if the ask feels bigger than you're capable of. Remember Gideon. When God called him a mighty warrior, Gideon couldn't see it yet. God wasn't describing Gideon's current reality. He was inviting him into his future. So if you sense God stirring something in your heart, ask him for confirmation. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention to how he answers. And if you reach the point where you're thinking, man, I think God is leading me somewhere, but I just don't know what my next step is, I would love to help. That is exactly why I offer clarity calls. We can pray together, talk through what God's been stirring in your heart, and then identify that one clear next step that you can take with confidence. Because you don't have to know the whole plan. You just need to know your next step. You can book your clarity call at scatteredwoman.com/clarity. Thanks for taking time to hang out with me today. I hope you'll discover new pieces of your Mosaic mom life each week. If you've got a quick minute between those never-ending snack requests from your kiddos, I'd love for you to leave a quick review over on the Your Mosaic Mom Life page on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews help other moms find the show, discover their unique purpose, and start building a life they'll love too. Well, that's it for now. Be sure to check back next week for another new episode, and I'll be talking with you again soon.